Mike Rich here. It is March 24th, 2020, and it is a historical day. It is something remarkable because we're in it. We have a full sort of stay indoors uh, governor proclamation today related to the coronavirus, depending on what time in the future you might be seeing this. However, there is a stock market rally at the moment with a $1.5 trillion stimulus, what I heard, about to be injected into the faltering economy, which I'm sure is making a lot of people feel a little bit better, if not, less tense. It's a stressful time for a lot of people. Also, an opportunity to sort of think about things and getting into my theories of mass trance and how do we get out of it, self-liberation movement idea. I'm about to change personas, by the way. I'm going to hop in the shower and clean up. I got a Zoom call coming up. But anyway, it's been, a number on a lot of people last few days, certainly. Let's hope for the best and everyone stay well. I want to talk quickly about one of the theories and go over it, and then we'll come back to it next video. And thank you for tuning in. And who am I? MikeRatner.com, R-A-T-N-E-R, if you just happen to be watching this by chance, MikeRatner.com. I'm also a coach, and I coach coaches, CEOs, people who I consider thought leaders and influencers. So if you want to check that out, go to coachinvite.com. I want to talk about causation. Now, this is written on a promotion piece that I had from a few years ago. I was going to launch a podcast, activist interview. And I just wrote on the top this morning, having a spare piece of paper, my new theory. It's related to you could say, a synopsis network of theories here. It's causation, attribution, vibe. And I'm going to name it a caveat. What's that? What's all this? Well, I was doing an exploration, a Gunduncian, a thought experiment into the type of vibe or social atmosphere, which I call metasphere, sort of the zeitgeist of times that we live in, and trying to pinpoint the feeling right now, like a worry index. If you see the charts, people selling their stocks based mostly on fear, right? Fear of the future and what's to come. Panic because their stocks have gone down. And concern where the coronavirus is going to take us and how it's going to affect society. So this idea here about the caveat is a causation attribution theory, you could say. It's measuring the vibe, right? The caveat then would be sort of the center points that kind of get us attention or make us feel a certain way, something that we're tuned into and we're hearing or at least playing in our mind. To sort of take a breather, as Dr. Jug would call this, awareness, and taking a moment to chill. So in one sense, it's being empty, right? So being in state, having the correct, so the fundamentals of this would be having the correct posture for yourself, right? Standing straight and erect, how's the face? Is there tension? Are you relaxed? The eyes, the shoulders, your breathing. And then now you have an inflection or centering point to which we can look at things and sort of a sense of things, sensory, sort of attribution here, right? So visual, right? Auditory, kinesthetic, sort of a mesh, semblance, and balance. Okay? So now, from this vantage point, and this is stepping out of judgment for the moment, even though we might, have an opinion about things, we examine the caveats. And the caveats basically, again, causation, right? Attribution, so there's something being sensed, blaming, or maybe there's actual cause in the environment, something that's affecting things. And the attribution aspect is sort of, as we are sleuths in this regard, our own Sherlock Holmes, and we examine our own TWA, right? The TWA, if you've gotten this far along in my series and talks, it simply stands for, and I like to use a lot of acronyms, so TWA simply stands for thoughts, words, and actions. And that sort of formulates, actualizes, and what our identities and the way that they're projected is the only way how I can know you, right? Because if you just share your TWA, your thoughts, words, and actions, I can measure and examine you. I can begin to sort of attribute some things about you. And it could be a certain element or perspective on things that could be a cause or causation for the way that we are addressing or co-piloting our existence that's expressed through our TWA, our thoughts, words, and actions, in the direction we're sort of taking. I call it a sense of attitude and altitude. So depending on where your TWA is at in this given moment, it's something to examine. So having the sense of awareness where I have a little bit more conscious awareness of my thoughts, words, and actions versus what I perceive to be out there or blamed, or it could be the cause, but how am I capable and able to deal with things? So I want to be in a better able place where I'm more capable, right? More having this perspective that things are a bit more in control because at least attitudinally and within myself, there's less stressors and things that are negatively impacting and affecting me and the people around me that could be projected through my interpretation and relationship that's been affected through this caveat. Now, another thought postulate that I came up with quite some time ago relates to the idea of pyrons. Now, if you know mad cow disease research, that's a whole other talk and not quite related, but I borrowed in the concept of prions. So what is this that's affecting? In mad cow disease, it's pyrons. I call it prions. So you can look it up, PRYONS.com, and it's explained a little bit. I've got a lot more to go in this realm, and maybe perhaps you could help contribute some ideas here. But a prion basically is sort of like an entity or something that's affected like a virus or a wormhole in the brain, where it's a constant RTP, which stands for repeated thought pattern. And it's affecting that particular person. Could be a client, right, that you're working with, or someone that you know intimately well, that every time you visit them, you're always hearing the same story repeated over and over. And are they not aware that they've just told you that story again and again and again and again and again, right? And there's no sensory attunement to, do you want to hear the story again and again and again? And this is, I call it the TIE principle, TIE. Is this a good time? Is this of interest to you before I start talking about this particular subject? And there's the energy there. You got to sort of, quelling the notion that things aren't quite right to making sure that they are right. And if they're not, you postpone things, right? So when would be a better time, and what would you like to talk about that would be of interest to you, or the information, you'd like to receive or inquire about that's interesting to you? And then, of course, making sure the environment and the energy is nicely attuned. It's very important. It's a delicate affair, but this is mastery in the moment. And this is that level of sensory attunement that I'm addressing. And in its finest bottom line, you could say, or filtration, I call it the formula UBE3. Yes, another acronym, but this is the one. UBE3, which stands for Ultra Being, an excellent example of enlightenment. However you define that. Ultra Being, being in state and flow, right? The best you can be. Ultra Being, an excellent example of enlightenment. UBE3. Ultra Being, an excellent example of enlightenment. Now, after I shower and shave and do some bit of grooming, maybe that'll be that kind of presentation for you. But it is about how we're being present. So it's the practice of being present. And as we become a bit more aware, more attuned, and have a bit more sensory awareness, particularly in the realm of what am I thinking, my TWA, thoughts, words, and actions, the way I'm expressing myself, this fine-tunement can help uplift us and perhaps humanity. That's the theory. And that's the awakening out of the mass trance. This is the ultimate form of self-liberation,